Greetings and salutations. Ooh, maybe not. I'm not sure. Greetings and salutations on this gloomy, doomy day in the car loop. My name's Kamaria, and today I am going to talk about my plans for June. And kind of talk about my TBR pile of possibilities. But it is going to be June, and for all the, the queers, it's Pride Month, and every year I do the Queer Lit Readathon, which has in the past been hosted by Kathy and Rogan. But this year it's just Kathy and her co-host Ren. I'll put their channels underneath here in the description box. But it's a basically just read queer literature all month. There's a bingo board, there are prompts, and I would say that 70%, 80% of what I read is queer, like always. I am queer. I think I mentioned it, in passing in videos, but I guess the kids nowadays would say pansexual. I mean, because back in my day, pansexual didn't exist yet. Like, pansexual was a term coined in, 2010, I think. And I came out way before that. Because back in the day, bisexual just kind of meant, you had your gays, your lesbians, your transsexuals, then you had bisexuals. And usually, if you talk to most bisexuals, that just meant everybody else. You don't just love women, you don't just love men, you just like everybody else. Because I do think that bisexuality in the name itself can be exclusionary, whatever. I was raised with this ideology of you fall in love with the person, not the plumbing, is what my mom used to say to me. So that's just kind of, I guess pansexual would be the proper term, but I'm always going to call myself bi, because I've been doing it for 40 years. Well, I guess not 40, 30 years. And I'm also realizing other things about myself and identity, but that's not in this video. So I'm going to talk about some of the prompts. I'm going to put the bingo board on the screen somewhere and then talk about what I'm going to read. So there are 16 prompts. There's a group read, which I couldn't get a hold of because I get all of my books either through the library, Kindle Unlimited, or Hoopla, and I couldn't get it on anything else, and I don't buy books. I don't buy books unless I know that they're my favorites and I'm going to read them again. So that will just mean I don't get a blackout. Oh well. But I have kind of got my handy dandy notebook here, and I'm just going to talk about some of the books that I have decided to read for this readathon. There are 16 prompts. I will probably do 15 of them, but I'm doubling up. So I'm not going to read 15 books. I mean, I probably will read 15 books, but I don't want to put too much pressure on myself to read 15 books. I've been averaging about 10 to 12 books a month. But so I think I have like 8 or 9, books that are going to be kind of officially on the TBR or my pile of possibilities. And then I have some backups, of course. But let's just dive right into it. So the first prompt on the board is Outside. So a book that takes place outside, predominantly outside. So I am going to combine outside with the prompt 90s. So a book set or written in the 90s. And I'm going to read Names for the Dawn. It is about a trans park ranger and like a wolf biology scientist who spend a summer in Alaska in the early 90s, and they kind of fall in love, but it's outside in the, Alaskan wilderness. So I'm really looking forward to that, because I'm realizing that my favorite books are trans or non-binary, genderqueer, gender fluid books for reasons. Anyway, the next book I'm going to read is for small town queers. It's You Had Me at Happy Hour. This is like a rivals to lovers, rom-com type thing. It's about a sommelier, which is like fancy restaurant terms for a person who likes to study wine and wine pairings, and a mixologist, aka a bartender. So a wine guy, bartender, they're kind of rivals. I'm in a restaurant setting, I'm guessing, and I'm sure they're going to fall in love because it's a romance. But this also is kind of a backup for, there's another prompt on the list that's alliteration, which is, alliteration is two words that have the same letter at the beginning. So that could be a backup for happy hour, but we'll see how it goes. Then you have a choose your own prompt, which we got to make it black. We got to make it black. So that's kind of a prompt that you get to choose whatever you want, as long as it's queer, of course. And I'm going to read Spells to Forget Us. This is like a sapphic, witchy Groundhog Day, where these two girls keep like meeting each other and falling in love and then breaking up and then like over and over, I guess. A spell gone wrong. It's sapphic, it's black, so that's all I need to know. The next prompt I have is short and or sweet. So for this one, you could read like a novella or something that you would think is sweet, either the literal sweet, or if it's a book that's just kind of cutesy wootsy vibes. But I'm going with short, because I actually have had a book on hold since like February, and I'm gonna get it in the middle and like the beginning of June. And that's, but not too bold. This is a sapphic monster romance, and it's a novella, and I think one of the main love interests is the spider lady. But it's a novella, and it's been on my radar for a long time, and I'm finally gonna get it. So that's perfect for the short prompt. One of the prompts is also Australian. I'm gonna read The Dark Tide. This is a young adult fantasy. I think it ends up being sapphic, love triangle, bisexual panic. I don't know. But like, I guess the setup is, in order to appease the gods, you have to sacrifice somebody in your village. And this girl is like, nah, you're not going to take my friend who I secretly have a crush on or something, or my sister. And then it ends up taking her crush, or I don't know. It's something like that, whatever. And she ends up falling in love with the person who takes the sacrifices. Whatever. Sounds great. Dark, twisty, teen angst. Let's go. The next prompt is going to be another combo. So this one is plus-sized main character, but I'm also going to combine this one with another prompt and starts with the letter O, because this is like the 15th round of the Queer Lit Readathon, and O is the 15th letter, so that's how they came with that prompt. And I'm going to read out of the blue. One of the main characters is plus-sized boy, and I think we have non-binary mermaids. So that'll be a kind of twofer. Then I have a 2025 release as a prompt, and I have another book that has been on my radar since like the beginning of the year, and I'm gonna get it in the middle of June, if my Libby isn't lying to me. And that's A Gentleman's Gentleman. And this is basically trans man Bridgerton vibes. So this trans man, in order to get like his inheritance, he has to get married, but like he doesn't like ladies, and he's trans. So you can see how that might be complicated. And I think he ends up falling for his valet, which is just a fancy name for a guy who helps dress him, I think. But yeah, so Bridgerton, trans vibes, I can get down with it. And then the next one we have is alliteration that I was talking about earlier, which I do actually have a couple of these other ones that I've mentioned before that would work, like the But Not Too Bold. You got 2 B's, the happy hour one. But I've chose for this one Cleat Cute, and it's a sapphic soccer rom-com that has been on my radar for a little while, and it's by a non-binary author, so that's cool too. Because I need to up my sapphic game. I need more sapphic books in my life, so that's why there are so many sapphic books on this list. But anyway, so Cleat Cute, and this one could also double up for being outside. And so I'm trying to cover all my bases and have books cover multiple prompts just in case, because I'm a mood reader and I need backup plans. I need contingencies, okay? Because that's just how my brain works. The next prompt is a one-time author. So this prompt is a read from a queer author that you've only read once before, which is hard for me because once I find a queer author that I like, I usually go straight for their backlist. So this one was tricky, but I actually just finished a book for the Asian readathon. Darius the Great is Not Okay. And it has a sequel. So instead of jumping right into the sequel like I wanted to do, I'm going to save it and read it for the Queer Lit Readathon. And it'll count for one-time author and the continued prompt, which is read, from a series that you're continuing or an author you're continuing or whatever. So that Darius the Great Deserves Better is the title that I'm going to use for one-time author and continued. Then we only have a few more. So for banned book, I wanted to, because, in this climate, everybody be banning. I live in Florida, so I get to deal with Moms for Liberty or whatever. And I actually was a librarian before I became a stay-at-home mom. And so it's not even just this administration. I was a librarian for 5 years, and the amount of books that get challenged for inappropriate content happened every single day. And I was really lucky that the person who ran my library would just kind of listen to these things and then throw them in the trash, because she's like, libraries are a public space that represent the community that they are in, and we are not going to take out books because one super conservative religious white lady wants to get rid of gay books or, you know, black books or whatever. So she wouldn't let any of those challenges or anything kind of affect how she bought books or the collections that we would have in the library. But once this comes from federal government, it's hard to kind of fight that. So I can understand that my librarians are having a tough time right now, and it really sucks. So I wanted to pick a book that has been banned in where I live, and I'm going to read Last Night at the Telegraph Club. It's set in the 50s or 60s, and it's sapphic, it's YA, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this book that would make it banned. It's teenage finding their, you know, about their sexuality. They, you know, the main character, I think, goes to like an underground gay club because, you know, back in the day it was illegal in America to be gay, and, you know, and then also dealing with like the Red Scare and everybody being afraid of communists. So it got banned for multiple reasons. Another prompt is borrowed, and almost any of the books that I have I can use for this prompt because I'm borrowing them all from the library. So I use Libby a lot. So that's not going to be trouble. And then the last one is manga, and I'm going to read you know, just the BL boy love manga. It's called Fangs, and it's about vampires. So that's kind of what I am going to read for the Queer Lit Readathon. I will say I'm probably not going to have like any vlogs or anything go along with that. My plan for June is every Friday I am going to pick a different letter of the alphabet mafia, LGBTQIA, and just provide some recommendations. And these are all going to be books that I have read that I love. So, you know, because I think there need to be more recommendations for the queer community. So anyway, that's all I have for you this time, guys. Bye.